You cannot say edge in video games. Why? Well, it's because of this bloke, Tim Langdell. Some say that if you say his name 3 times, he appears behind you with a copyright claim in his hand, ready to bring litigation to anyone that dareth speaketh his name. That's not true, obviously. He only does that when you use the word edge, and he doesn't even give you 3 times. Yes, dear Timmy certainly has made a name for himself, and not for any of the right reasons. So strap yourself in and lawyer up, because it's time to look at Mr. Langdale's incredible litigious journey through video game history. And spoiler alert, this time EA are the good guys. Yeah, I'm as shocked as you are. In the year 1980, Langdale set up Softtech Software, a company that spent most of its time making clones of arcade games, which seems rather ironic considering where this story goes from here on out.
Well, obviously we're extremely happy that copyright in respect of computer software is now recognised.
Softtech were the minds behind Firebirds, a clone of Phoenix, Ostron, a clone of Joust, and Monsters in Hell, a clone of Space Panic. So you can probably see a theme here, right? By 1984, Langdale created an offshoot of Softtech called The Edge, initially coined as a creative group, which sounds suspiciously like exactly the kind of people you'd have in a software development team, that being programmers, musicians and artists. Under this new moniker, The Edge released Quo Vadis for the Commodore 64, a game that had a £10,000 gold scepter as a prize for whoever could complete the game first and solve all of the riddles contained within it. The prize was later raised to £40,000 after 100,000 sales, and even though the game was completed and answers to the riddle were sent to the Edge, it appears nobody ever actually won the coveted prize money, with Langdale stating that the riddles hadn't been solved properly.
No, but yes, but no.
As no answers were ever released, I guess we'll have to keep on guessing on that one. Of course, this wasn't the only game that Edge released, however. There were also some other games that didn't have prize money you couldn't win as well, such as Starbike, a clone of Lunar Jetman, Sidetracks, a clone of Attic Attack, Brian Bloodaxe, a clone of Jet Set. Look, I think you can see where this is going, so let's skip on, shall we? In 1985, like some sort of miracle, The Edge actually had one original game on their hands. Fairlight, an incredibly ambitious title from Bo Jangerborg, receiving awards from Crash including Best Arcade Adventure, Best Graphics, Best Music, and the State of the Art Award. The game was a critical darling. Unfortunately, according to Bo Jangerborg, The Edge withheld all royalties.
So I got into this legal wrangling that I mentioned before with them. They were withholding royalties for Fairlight in trying to force me to sign a contract, a more long-term contract with them. And I wasn't interested in doing that because, well, there were problems with the company, I thought.
Although it's worth mentioning that Tim Langdell disputes this. Mind you, it's easier to list the things Tim doesn't dispute. To add insult to injury, the sequel to Fairlight was released without even getting Bo Jangerborg's approval. It was an unfinished, bug-filled mess, one of which even stopped the game from being completed.
So they were withholding it, and at that point I was withholding code so that they shouldn't be able to publish it. But they had some of the one of the beta versions that they decided, oh well, we'll release this.
In the 90s, with Langdale still at the helm, The Edge became Edge Games, which is a strange time to change their name, as they went on to release a whopping 9 games in 25 years, with mobile games including Wordzle, a clone of Wordle, Super Cookie Blast, a clone of... Look, I'm not doing this anymore. You get the idea. Now, all this cloning of titles clearly wasn't enough for Edge Games, because as the year 2001 rolled around, Tim Langdell brought out the big guns. It was time to protect the name of the company he'd not really done all that much with for the past decade. It was time to get litigious. Between 2001 and 2014, Langdale went all in. Soul Edge from Namco, Edge of Twilight from Fuzzy Eyes Studios, Planet's Edge from New World Computing, Cutting Edge, Double Edge, Over the Edge from Marvel, PlayStation Edge, Edge Magazine. All these properties and more he claimed for infringing on his ownership of the word Edge. But strangely enough, not U2's The Edge. Toasty! Clearly missing a trick there, or maybe he just really liked the Joshua Tree. Most notably, perhaps, was Langdale's forceful handling of 2009 mobile game Edge. Developer Moby Games tried to play ball and suggested changing the name of the game to Edgy. Langdale, however, said, then he went and copyrighted the name Edgy as well. Because, of course, he bloody did.
I own everything, including your useless knife.
Langdale then went on to offer to license the name Edge, but demanded 25% of the revenue since the moment the game appeared on sale. But not only that, he also wanted 10% of the game's revenue in perpetuity. And only if they subtitled it an homage to Bobby Bearing, with Edge logos on the title screen. If you're wondering who on earth Bobby Bearing is, he's this fella, another Edge property, and surprisingly, not a clone of another game. Wonders never cease. Edge, the game that is, was pulled and re-released on the iStore multiple times due to copyright claims. At one point, they even tried changing the name to Edge by Moby Games, and this wasn't suitable to Langdale either. Moby Games was certainly on the back foot when it came to dealing with Langdale, but another game was jumping over the horizon in 2009, one that Langdale had decided was stepping on his turf once more, and this time it was going to be David versus Goliath, if David was constantly pestering Goliath for cash. That game was Mirror's Edge, and the Goliath was EA, who, as you can well imagine, stood their ground and took the case to court. There, it was found that Edge Games had misrepresented their use of their copyright by submitting doctored magazine covers and game boxes to try and show that the trademark hadn't been abandoned. The judge ruled that Edge Games had to give up their trademarks: Edge, twice registered, Cutting Edge, The Edge and Gamer's Edge, all of which were cancelled in 2013. It was also around this time that the International Game Developers Association voted to boot Langdale out, after only recently bringing him on board in the first place. In true Langdale fashion, he jumped before he was pushed, then claimed that had he stayed, he would have won the vote. The IGDA terminated his membership in 2010 due to a lack of integrity/unethical behaviour as determined by the board of directors. Just to clarify how fast this all was, he joined in March 2009 and resigned in August 2009. That would have been the perfect ending for Tim's tirades if it hadn't been for Future Publishing stepping into the ring in 2011. They had licensed the use of the word Edge for Edge magazine under the belief that Tim's sabre rattling was all above board. They bought use of the trademark outright in 2005, but they claimed that Langdale had used the magazine's logo as his own. Tim claimed, of course, that he was involved in the creation and publication of the magazine. Once again in court, things went south pretty quickly. Tim tried to prove that he created the Edge logo in 1991, with the magazine launching in 1993. But it turns out the evidence he submitted, via floppy disk, was made on Windows 95. Langdale's own evidence was described by the judge as complete invention. Something which can't be said for 90% of the games that Edge published on their long and litigious journey. Tim Langdale can still be found roaming the internet wastelands, defending his name to this day. Tim will appear on his white internet horse and declare that his internet horse is, in fact, black. When Gears of Games interviewed Bo Jangerborg about Fairlight on YouTube, an account named Edge Games appeared, using the typical Langdale defence. When another user asked them directly if they were, in fact, Mr. Langdell, they responded, no, from Tim Langdell's own account, of course. But let's give Tim the benefit of the doubt though. I mean, what are his views on how things turned out?
We're the Edge Games who were unlucky enough to have a judge that didn't technology and a forensic expert who was an idiot. We supplied a disc we said dated from 1995, but which we believed had copies of 1991 files on it. We were right, but our foolish forensic expert said it was an actual 1991 disc. The other side's forensic expert said it was made using Windows 95, so must be a fake. We said what? We said it was a 1995 disc! But the judge got it into her head it was fake. We found the actual 1991 disc and both experts agreed it was genuine, but the judge couldn't shake her foolish idea that first disc was fake. And we didn't invent the future logo, we invented our own logo that was similar, and they copied us. They licensed the mark Edge from us to this day. Also, I'm not Tim Langdell.
So, there you have it. Choose to believe what you like in this one, I guess. Tim Langdell is still clinging on to Edge Games as a company, but he's now also an ordained priest, writes books on Christianity and Buddhism, and he's currently working on detective novels and sci-fi works. Fingers crossed he's put his zealous past behind him, but I'm sure we'll find out when he turns up in the comments. Hello you! Thanks ever so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to be first to see future Fact Hunt episodes. Click on the bell if you already are to make sure you're notified, and be sure to check out my other episodes. And if you want to be super awesome, check out my Patreon. But thanks again for watching, and until next time friends, I'm missing you already.